Logical morning. Welcome to Vidhigya Explain, the Hindu newspaper analysis. Today's session will have following segments. First, overview of today's newspaper. Second, must-know topics and explanation. And third, quiz time with 5 important questions. So, overview of today's newspaper. The first important topic here is the return assets seized after protest against CAA, SC tells UP government. So Supreme Court has told the UP government that return the property that they have seized during the Citizenship Amendment Act protests. So this is what Supreme Court has directed to the UP government. Second topic is India UAE signed major trade pact. So in past few sessions we have discussed about the free trade agreement and free trade agreement between India, UK, and then we have also been discussing about India is in talks with UAE for free trade agreement. So yesterday India and UK has signed the free trade agreement FTA. So we will discuss this topic along with one more article that is also related to India UAE trade pact. Now, another important topic is SC for Supreme Court for mediation among states to settle Krishna water dispute. In this topic, we will discuss about Krishna water disputes, the party in the Krishna water dispute, and then we will also discuss about the mediation and other related information related to this topic. And then India needs a refugee and asylum law. So in this topic, we will discuss about the principle of non-refoulement, who are refugees, and then why do we need a refugee law, and what are the current provisions in India under which refugees are dealt with, and what are the international conventions related to refugee. So this is what we will discuss. So this 75% job quota in Haryana we have already discussed. Then Russia welcomes India's stand on Eastern Ukraine solution. So India has said that issue can be resolved only through diplomatic dialogue, says India at United Nations Security Council. So India's stand has been lauded by the Russian counterparts that it welcomes India's stand. So India is currently taking a middle path, and India does not want to be involved in this situation, because on one side India has USA as its friends, and on other side the Russia has as its friend. So India has to take a middle path so that it does not offend both the countries, that is USA and Russia. So this topic, India and UAE signed major trade agreement, this we will discuss. And then child restraint system to come up on flight. So DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation, has directed the flight companies, the aircraft companies, to ensure that they have the child restraint system in their flights. Another important topic is hydrogen policy calls for more incentives experts. So in this topic, we'll discuss about the hydrogen policy, the national hydrogen mission, and then we will also discuss the importance of hydrogen fuel over the other renewable and fossil fuels. So these are the important. Then Putin to oversee nuclear drills during standoff over Ukraine. So we have discussed a lot about Ukraine and Russia crisis. So still there is military drills going on in the Russia, and though Russia is saying they are withdrawing some of its forces from Ukraine border, but USA and its other partners still believe that Russia can invade Ukraine anytime. So we have already discussed all the points related to Russia, Ukraine, such as why the dispute, the Donbas region, the options available with West and NATO. We have also discussed about the NATO. So this is all we have discussed in this topic. US to sell 250 Abrams tanks to Poland. So just you have to know what are Abram tanks. So Abram tanks are from USA, and that USA is selling these to Poland. So LIC said to be ready to open 8 billion IPO on March 11. So we have discussed about LIC IPO in previous lecture, and we have also discussed that currently Indian government has 100% stake in LIC, and we have also discussed about the distribution of profits, then how LIC earns money, and what are the concerns of the stakeholder of the policy holders, and how these concerns can be addressed. So we have discussed this topic in very detail in last lectures. So that is all in this today's newspaper. So let's start with the analysis. So the topic for discussion, SC for mediation among states to settle Krishna water dispute. India needs a refugee and asylum law. India and UAE sign major trade agreements. Hydrogen policy calls for more incentives expert. So India needs a refugee and asylum law. So in this topic, So in this topic, we'll discuss why we need refugee law. Sorry, one second. So first topic that we'll discuss, refugee, why we need refugee law, non-refoulement, principle of non-refoulement, and private member bill, and other important information. So refugee. So who are considered refugee? So there are various type of refugees like political refugee, economic refugee, uh, climate refugees are those refugees where the country is having climate change, like there are many countries which are submerging due to rising sea level, and the refugees that are coming from those countries are known as climate refugee. And then there are economic refugees, those people who are coming from their state, their nation, to another nation in search of better economic activities. So for the purpose of this topic, the refugee, who are considered refugee. So this topic is in news. Why this topic is in news? Because the Shashi Tharoor, the member of parliament, has like placed a bill before the parliament on refugee law, that India needs a refugee law. So though he has instituted a bill in the parliament, however, it is a private member bill, and we'll have to see that whether this will be passed or not. So, but that is not our concern right now. We need to understand the important topics, important small pointers that are there in this article. So refugee, so people who have fled their home countries and crossed an international border because of a well-founded fear of persecution in their home countries on ground. So refugees for this topic is those people who have persecution, fear of persecution, and not like for economic activities or for climate refugees, not for economic or climate, but those refugees who have fear of persecution in their home countries. Why persecution? Because of their race, their religion, their nationality, their membership of particular social group or political opinion. So this article says those people who have fled their country because they have the fear of persecution because they belong to a particular race, religion, nationality, member of particular social group, or because of their political opinion. So those who belong to this category can be considered as refugee, but they must have the fear of persecution in their home country. So now, principle of non-refoulement. This principle is the cornerstone of refugee law. So which state that no country should send a person to a place where he or she may face persecution. For example, this country A, this is country B. So if the people in this country facing the religious persecution and they fled from A to B, so the principle of non-refoulement says that the country B should not send those people back to country A because they have the fear of persecution in their home country. So this is the principle of non-refoulement. Why we need a refugee law? So first we have to like go little, we have to see about the India's history, that India is a country which has welcomed refugees in on various occasions. So India has been doing this, but we do not have a specific law to deal with refugee. So it says that India has been and continues to be generous host to several persecuted communities during more than centuries, during more than many doing more than many countries. It says that India has been generous in receiving the refugees, and India is doing more than many countries. But India is neither a signatory to 1951 UN Refugee Convention, nor does it have any domestic asylum framework. So it says India has been doing great job in this like refugee area, and India has been giving asylum to people who are facing persecution. But the problem is that it is not obligatory on India. It is India's own will, that if India wants to do, India will do. If India does not want, India will not do. For example, the current Afghanistan, those people who have fled from Afghanistan, like India is not allowing them, even though they are facing persecution. Same goes with the Rohingyas of Myanmar. India is not happy with welcoming Rohingyas of Myanmar. So what is said that India is neither a signatory of UN Refugee Convention, nor India does have any domestic asylum framework. So there is absence of these two, and because of India's own will, India is doing, but India does not have any obligation. So you have to remember this UN Refugee Convention of 1951. It is an important. This is very important for your exam. In the absence of uniform and comprehensive law to deal with asylum seekers, we lack a clear vision or policy on refugee movement. Since we do not have a domestic law, or we are not signatory of UN Refugee Convention. So we do not have a clear vision how to deal with refugees in our country. So it depends on the government, the power. So if they want refugees from Myanmar, they can do. If they don't want, they do not, they cannot do. And then they have their own way of acting. They have their own way of dealing with such situation, because of lack of any domestic framework, there is a lack of policy, there is a lack of clear action that what needs to be done. So it says we have a cocktail of laws such as Foreigners Act, Registration of Foreigners Act, Passports Act, Extradition Act, Citizenship Act, and Foreigners Order, all of which club foreign individual together. So they India have variety of laws to deal with people from other country. However, all these laws, all of which club foreign individuals together are alien. So all of these club foreign individuals together as alien. So they are not considered refugee as such. And because we do not have refugee law, so we deal with them as per these law. Therefore, the article says we need a refugee law. So important. The right to seek asylum in India would be available to all foreigners. This is the bill. This is the provision of bill. The bill says that right to seek asylum in India would be available to all foreigners irrespective of their nationality, race, religion, or ethnicity, and national commission for asylum would be constituted to receive and decide all such applications. So the bill provides that all the people that right to seek asylum will not be on any discriminatory basis, and those people, all those people who are facing who are facing persecution in their country, can be given asylum, can seek asylum, and a national commission for asylum will be set up, which will decide all the which will oversee all the applications of the refugees, and accordingly it will take action. So it talks about that there will be no discrimination while granting asylum, and then it talks about national commission for asylum. So this you have to remember, these are the provisions of bill. So the article says we need a proper framework to make sure that refugees can access. The article says it's not only about providing asylum to the refugees. However, we need a proper framework to make sure that the refugees can access basic public services, be able to legally seek jobs and livelihood opportunities for source of income. So it says we need a proper framework where they can have basic public services, they can seek jobs and livelihood opportunity. Now we have to discuss about private member bill. So in parliament or state legislature, there are two types of bill. One is government bill and then private member bill. Private government bill are those bill which are like placed before the parliament by the ministers, and private members bill are those which are placed in before the parliament by member of parliament or MLA in state legislature and MP in parliament. So government bill related to minister, and private bill related to other members except ministers. So we have seen the difference between private member bill also. So in this topic we have discussed, so you have to remember refugees, who all are refugees, principle of non-refoulement. We have discussed about 1951 UN Refugee Convention. We have discussed India is not a signatory of this, and we do not have any domestic law dealing with refugees. We have variety of laws, and all these laws consider foreigners as aliens. Then we have also discussed about the private member bills and the government bills. Now another topic is India UAE sign major trade pact. India and UAE sign major trade pact. So we have discussed in our previous lecture FTA, what is free trade agreement. We have discussed tariff and non-tariff barriers, and what is the importance of FTA, why FTA is important. And we have also discussed that India is in talks with UK and Australia also for signing foreign trade agreement, free trade agreement. We have also discussed about preferential trade agreement, for free trade agreement, and CEPA. So there is not much difference between preferential trade agreement, free trade agreement, CEPA, and CECA. So what is that? The economic engagement is less. Economic engagement in this is more. In this more deeper. In this more deeper. So this is just the difference between all these things. Comprehensive economic partnership agreement, comprehensive economic comprehensive economic this is CEPA, this is free trade agreement, this is preferential trade agreement. So we have discussed this. So now the article says that India and UAE signed comprehensive economic partnership agreement, the biggest trade pact of last 7 years since India enacted model BIT, that is model bilateral investment treaty. This is bilateral investment treaty is that model BIT is that on the basis of which the free trade agreements will be negotiated between India and other countries. So this is, you have to remember that India is in talks with three countries, that UAE, first is UAE, Australia, and then UK. So out of these three countries, so yesterday, India has signed free trade agreement. That is comprehensive economic partnership agreement with the UAE. So I have talked about, we have discussed PTA, we have discussed FTA, we have discussed CEPA, that comprehensive economic partnership agreement, and then CECA, that is comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. So there is not much difference. It's just the difference of the deeper economic engagement, that in this there will be less, there will be more, there will be more and more in this. So the article says this agreement will herald a new age in our financial relations. Our trade in the next 5 years will increase from 60 billion to $100 billion. So currently our trade is around $100 billion with UAE, and it says that in next 5 years it will reach around $100 billion. So this is, you have to remember. So now, what is important? Anti-dumping. So the article talks about anti-dumping. It says that this new agreement will have, here it says that Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said that CEPA would have strong anti-dumping measures. So we have to know what are anti-dumping measures. So anti-dumping. So anti-dumping duty is a protectionist tariff that a domestic government imposes on foreign imports that it believes are priced below fair market value. Dumping is a process wherein a company exports a product at a price that is significantly lower than the price it normally charges in its home or domestic market. So what is, for example, this is country A, this is country B. So country A produces X product, and the cost of X product is $10, and country A export this to country B, X product, and here it charges $8, or $9, $9. So this is what, so the dumping is that if exporting your product to another country at a value which is lower than its fair value, or the value that you charge in your own country. So here it charges $10, but here it is exporting at $8. So this is what is dumping. So in order to counter this dumping, what country B can do? Country B can impose anti-dumping duty. So let's say it is importing at $8 billion. It find out that the country A is dumping its product at a lesser price than their own domestic price. So it imposes a anti-dumping duty of $3. So now the cost of product becomes $3 plus $8 equal to $11. So this is anti-dumping. Now another topic is Supreme Court for mediation among states to settle Krishna water dispute. So in this we will discuss about Krishna water dispute, that states in Krishna water dispute, the current situation, and we will also talk about mediation. So Krishna water dispute related to sharing of river water between Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh. So it is a river water sharing dispute between, you have to remember the states, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Andhra Pradesh. So these are three states part of this dispute. Now, little bit about Krishna River. It originates in Mahabaleshwar in West Bengal and in Maharashtra, and it flows to Bay of Bengal and not Arabian Sea. So this can be asked in your exam, that Krishna River can originate from which of the following place. So you have to remember in Mahabaleshwar in Maharashtra, and it flows to Bay of Bengal. So you have to remember this for your CLAT examination, the states part of Krishna water dispute, the origin of Krishna River, and to which area this Krishna River flows. So the current issue. So the Andhra Pradesh has asked the Telangana be included as a separate party. So earlier disputes has been going for decades, but the river dispute, but the water dispute tribunals have been constituted, and it has given its awards. Like for example, the award was given, for example, that X cubic meters you will take, Y you will take, Z you will take. So water has been divided between the three states. Later the problem started when the Andhra Pradesh in 2014 were divided into Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So now the dispute is Andhra Pradesh has since asked that Telangana be included as a separate party at the Krishna Water Dispute Tribunal, and the allocation of Krishna waters be reworked among 4 states instead of 3. Sorry. So earlier the water was shared between 3: Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh. So in 2014, Andhra Pradesh bifurcated in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So now what and the Andhra Pradesh is saying that Telangana should also be made part of this tribunal for water sharing, But Maharashtra and Karnataka said Telangana was created following bifurcation of Andhra Pradesh. Therefore, allocation of water should be from Andhra Pradesh share, which was approved by tribunal. So what Karnataka and Maharashtra are saying that this was earlier Andhra Pradesh, but now it has been divided in 2 parts. So the water that earlier was allocated to Andhra Pradesh should be divided between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and therefore it should not be the Telangana should not be made party to this, and there is no need of more water given to Andhra Pradesh. Rather, the share from Andhra Pradesh should be given to Telangana. So the issue is basically earlier there were 3 parties. Now Andhra wants it to be 4 party, and the sharing of water should be reworked. But Karnataka and Maharashtra are opposing this. So this is basic. This is the current issue. So now we can like you have to remember that River Board Act. There is a 1956 River Board Act enacted by Parliament. As per Article 262 of Constitution. So this can be asked that River Board Act was enacted under which article. So it's 262, and Interstate Water Dispute Act is also under Article 262. Article 262 empowers Parliament to enact River Board Act or to enact law in order to settle dispute related to river water dispute. So now what is mediation? So first thing you have to remember, it is a non-binding. Mediation is non-binding on the parties. Procedure in which impartial third party, the conciliator or mediator, assists the parties to a dispute in reaching a mutually satisfactory and agreed settlement of the dispute. So for example, there is A party, B party. So then the C will come as a mediator, and this C will help both A and B in order to reach to a mutually agreed solution. So this is the role of mediator. This mediator is non-interested party and is an impartial neutral party. And the role of mediator is just to guide or just to help parties A and party A and B to reach to a mutually agreed solution. So this is out of court. This is known as out of court settlement. Out of court settlement, where there are various options like mediation, arbitration, conciliation. So these are three. So we have discussed about mediation. So mediation is a process by which disputing parties engage the assistance of neutral third party to act as mediator. Parties should participate voluntarily. Mediators are impartial, and confidentiality is important for mediation process. So with the help of this mediator, mediator will help these parties to agree to come to a mutually agreed solution. However, it is a non-binding agree. However, the solution is non-binding. It is not binding on the party A and B. And confidentiality is very important in mediation process. So the benefits of mediation, that as compared to normal court procedure, first, cheap; second, faster resolution of dispute; and third, no party loses. So in which both the parties come to a mutually agreed solution. So it's not like party A lost and party B won, like which happens in court cases where one party loses and one party wins. So in this mediation, both the party wins because both come to a mutually agreed solution. So we have discussed it's cheap, it's a faster and win-win situation for both the party. We have discussed the role of mediator. Mediator acts mere as a facilitator to help both the parties coming to a mutually agreed solution. Now, the last topic is hydrogen policy calls for more incentives, expert says. So Center on Thursday notified the green hydrogen and green ammonia policy aimed at boosting domestic production of green hydrogen to 5 million tons by 2030 and making India an export hub for clean fuel. So what is green hydrogen? So you remember that in 2022, there is a green hydrogen and green ammonia policy for production of green hydrogen to 5 million ton by 2030 and making India an exporter of green hydrogen. So what is green hydrogen? So green hydrogen is a hydrogen gas produced through electrolysis of water, an energy intensive process for splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen using renewable power to achieve this. So this is water, H2O. So in green hydrogen, through the electrolysis process, you have to remember that electrolysis process is used. So in this, H2O is broken down into H2 plus O, oxygen and hydrogen. So through the electrolysis process, the hydrogen is removed through the oxygen. So however, why this is called green hydrogen? Because for the purpose of electrolysis, we need energy. Energy is required, and this energy will be a renewable energy. Renewable. So because in green hydrogen, renewable energy is used in electrolysis process, that is why it is called green hydrogen, because it uses renewable energy for electrolysis process to produce hydrogen gas. So then what is the new policy? The new policy offers 25 years of free power transmission for any new renewable energy plant set up to supply power for green hydrogen production before July. So what it says that before 2025, if A set up say renewable energy power plant, and then A can supply this to B for production of green hydrogen. And on this, there will be incentive that it can transmit its renewable power from A to B, and no transmission fees will be taken from A. So this is the first thing, that free power transmission for any renewable energy plant set up to supply power for green hydrogen production. So this A provides renewable energy to B for the production of green hydrogen, and because of this, because government is promoting green hydrogen, therefore the transmission fees will not be charged from A if it set up its plant before 2025 for 25 years. This means that a green hydrogen producer will be able to set up a solar power plant in Rajasthan to supply renewable energy to green hydrogen plant in Assam, would not be required to pay any interstate transmission. This gives an example that Rajasthan is here, Assam is there. So there is a green hydrogen plant which produces green hydrogen plant, and here is a renewable energy plant. So renewable energy plant supplies renewable energy to green hydrogen plant to produce green hydrogen using this energy in electrolysis process. So there are many states between this, like Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, then it reaches. So this policy offers an incentive that if you transfer here to here, then no interstate transmission fees will be charged from this renewable energy producer. It's a non-polluting source of energy. Hydrogen energy is expected to reduce carbon emission. So why it is important? Why hydrogen energy is important? So first we'll discuss National Hydrogen Mission. Hydrogen Mission. So announced in budget 2021-2022. So you have to remember, National Hydrogen Mission announced last year, but National Hydrogen Policy this year in 2022. So a National Hydrogen Mission in 2021-2022. What was the aim? With the aim to cut down carbon emission and increase the use of renewable sources of energy. With the aim to cut down the carbon emission and to use renewable energy resources. And the ministry responsible for this, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. So why hydrogen energy? Why we need hydrogen energy? So we are seeing that, witnessing that because of fossil fuel emission of greenhouse gases, there is a global warming, climate change is happening. So we need to move from fossil fuel to renewable energy. Renewable energy such as solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, like hydrogen energy, tidal energy, and other types of energy. So this is renewable energy. So why hydrogen energy is important? Because it is a renewable sources, because hydrogen can be utilized very well, and hydrogen is found abundantly in the nature, but not it's in elemental form. It is found in with combination with other elements. So however, hydrogen can be a big source for producing energy. So this is why, and it is a renewable source. Important source of energy since it has zero carbon content. Hydrogen energy has zero carbon content, so it will reduce greenhouse gas emission and it will reduce global warming. So this is one. And does not emit greenhouse gases. It is very dense in energy and hence highly efficient. Other thing is it is highly efficient. This hydrogen energy is highly efficient and it is 3 times more powerful than most fossil fuels. It is almost 3 times more powerful than other most fossil fuels. And hydrogen energy is expected to reduce carbon emissions. So we have discussed that it is a renewable source of energy. It reduces greenhouse gases. It reduces global warming. It is more efficient and it is more powerful than other fossil fuels. So this is all for this session. Like we have discussed 4 topics. We have discussed like water dispute. We have discussed India UAE pact, and we have discussed the refugee policy and refugee law, and we have discussed national hydrogen mission and national hydrogen policy. And I've also told you the points that you have to remember for your CLAT examinations. So it's time for G quiz. Question number 1. In which year national hydrogen mission was announced? Your options are 2021, 2020, 21, 2021 to 2022, 2022 and 2023. None of the above. The correct option is 2021. In this, National Hydrogen Mission was announced during budget with the aim to reduce dependence on fossil fuels and to shift towards renewable energy. And National Hydrogen Policy in 2022-2023 hydrogen policy. So we have discussed the incentives that are being offered in hydrogen policy. Question 2. UN Refugee Convention instituted in which year? UN Refugee Convention. So your options are 1948, 1949, 1950, 1951. The correct option is 1951. Which of the following is correct? India is a signatory of UN Refugee Convention 1951. India is not a signatory of 1951 UN Refugee Convention 1951. India has signed UN Refugee Convention but has not ratified it. None of the above. So your option is this. India is not a signatory of UN Refugee Convention. Krishna River originates in which state? Your options are Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana and Odisha. Correct option is Maharashtra. We have discussed it originates at Mahabaleshwar in Maharashtra and then goes to Bay of Bengal. Last question. Which of the following state is not a party of Krishna water dispute? Your options are Karnataka, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. Correct option is Tamil Nadu. So we have discussed Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, party of Krishna water dispute. And why current issue? Current issue that Andhra Pradesh wants Telangana to be part of this dispute. But Karnataka and Maharashtra opposing that the share of Andhra Pradesh should be given to Telangana because Telangana was bifurcated from Andhra Pradesh. So this is all for this session. Stay logical with Vidhigya, your best pal in CLAT Preps. Thank you.